With wildfires burning across the West and hurricanes slamming into the southern coast, climate change has erupted on the national stage. Much of the country is wondering how we'll move forward with that debate. Earlier, Jeff Berardelli spoke with co-founder and executive director of the Sunrise Movement, Varshini Prakash. Let's take a listen to their conversation.
I think it's important to kind of address the elephant in the room, is the coal workers, the fossil fuel workers. Let's talk about a just transition, and I'd also like to talk about environmental justice as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is one of the most important things we have to talk about when we're moving off of fossil fuels and towards a renewable energy economy. We have to ensure that no person and no worker particularly is left behind in this transition. This means that we have got to have workers at the table when we're designing these policies. We've got to ensure that any worker that is displaced has a shot has the support from the government to ensure that they have their pensions, that they have health benefits, that they have their housing secured, and we can't do what many coal corporations and fossil fuel industries are doing of actually leaving workers out in the cold when their industries fail or when profits dry up. And so I think the biggest thing to do here is to make sure that a just transition is a core element and part of any Green New Deal, and essentially to make sure that justice, making sure that equality for all is inherent in any plan to address the climate crisis, whether that is ending environmental racism or ending environmental classism. We've got to ensure that this period of economic prosperity that could come in tackling the climate crisis includes the most marginalized among us in that process.
I want to talk a little bit about the election. I understand that you have had at least some hand in shaping, kind of forming Joe Biden's climate plan. So first of all, are you satisfied with the plan? And what are your priorities going forward if Joe Biden does get elected?
Yeah. So I was a part of a Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden unity task force that was a series of 6 different task forces that came together on a variety of different policies, areas. Climate was one of them. And I worked with, 7 other members of this task force to figure out ways that we could make Joe Biden's climate plan more ambitious than it currently was. So we were able to actually push his campaign to set benchmarks around decarbonizing our economy by 2035 instead of by 2050. We pushed them to increase their investment levels from a $1.7 trillion plan over 10 years to a $2 trillion plan over 4 years, and to dedicate 40% of that investment specifically towards low-income communities and communities of color. So I'm really excited about some of those provisions. I would describe it as, Joe Biden's plan isn't everything, but it isn't nothing at all. And I think if we actually want, if Joe Biden wins in November, and he is able to make good on many of his campaign promises, that will present a seismic shift in climate policy at the federal level than anything that we have seen in the last 40 years.
Varshini, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.